Saving starts with Xfinity. Get a great price on Xfinity Internet. Plus, ask how to get an eligible 5G phone on us. And for a limited time, $300 back when you add Xfinity Mobile. Go to Xfinity.com/start saving. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Restrictions apply.
And welcome back to Success Made to Last Legend Show. I'm Rick Tocchini. Today's very special guest is Bob Wright. Bob is the managing director of Firebrick, has over 20 years of experience in the high technology industry, and specializes in the creation of breakaway strategies and unblocking critical problems to build substantial market value. So he is a partner. He's also a possibilitarian. And he also happens to be a mutual friend of Philippe Bousseau, the author of Aligning the Dots. And I want to extend my thanks to Philippe for introducing us. Bob, welcome to Success Made to Last. You are our first possibilitarian ever on this program.
There's been a long journey to become a possibilitarian. I actually grew up in Indiana in the Midwest and moved out to Silicon Valley in the early 1990s, and working for some tech software companies. And I just found that I had a real, I just looked at things differently from a positioning perspective, right? And how would you talk about this deep technology and geek speak in a way that people can get it and understand it? So then I started on this journey of, I call it a craft of helping. Now I have a firm, an agency, strategy agency in San Francisco. And what we do is we help B2B technology companies, and specifically we help them more position them. So more clearly articulate why they're different, why somebody should care, and what unique place do they really own in the category. So yeah, it's been quite a grateful journey, I should say.
It sure sounds like it. And, along the way, I suspect that you leaned into your Midwest core values from Indiana and being a Hoosier. I'd love for you to, for those of the audience that have no idea what I'm talking about, Bob, tell them about Midwest core values and what yours are and how you've applied them even in your current position there at Firebrick.
Yeah, it's interesting. I went to a state school. I always kid everybody. I went to the state school because I work with these super, super, super smart, almost spectrum people, because you have to have, you got to have a multi-threaded intelligence to create something new. And so I'm in the fortunate position I get to work with very, very smart people that are all manifesting and trying to bring something new. To improve the lives of companies and people. And I think I think there's a humbleness I gained from the Midwest and a kind of no BS, But I think the other thing is, too, I don't know if it came from the Midwest, but I just feel it's more of an abundance mindset. I feel like it's win-win. There's more than enough money. There's more than enough abundance around. Come on, bring it. Come on, let's all our boats are going to rise, So I really try to spread that abundance mindset around quite a bit. And it's also, the other thing that's really interesting, most of my team members actually grew up in the Midwest, which is kind of interesting.
I love that. One of the things that popped out in your bio from my perspective is that not only are you a basketball coach, a hiker, and a global traveler, but you've also learned to play the violin. And it's strange, it's like the last thing that I say is that I'm a rock drummer, and I get more reaction out of that. And they go, well, what's your favorite Led Zeppelin song? And I go, thanks for asking.
Totally.
But when I see the word violin, I think, is it possible that you're a polymath?
Oh, no, I don't think so. No, what's really interesting, I picked up violin just because my kids when they were younger went to a Waldorf school, and part of that training is they want you to pick up an instrument. So kids started playing violin. I'm like, well, I'm going to learn too. What the heck? And the reason I do it is, I'm really deeply into music, but, it works my mind in a completely different way. It feels like working neural pathways on the other part of my brain that have not been worked or that need to be dusted off and work a long time. So I do it just because I have the pleasure, and I'm not very good at it, and I would never do it in public, but it uses a completely different part of my mind. So.
Well, I know that you're a humble Hoosier, but that's exactly how Einstein explained it, because it was working a different part of his brain, and he wasn't great at it, but he actually solved lots of mathematical equations while playing the violin. So I love the fact that it's mentioned in your bio, and whether you're great or a concert violinist or not, I just think it's a wonderful trait to have.
Yeah, thank you. It's fun, and it's a discipline, and it gets me out of my ordinary life. So that's
you bet.
important.
Okay. Well, listen, Bob, we've got several questions that are all lined up for you today. And one of the things that we do on our Legend Show is we try to teach and instruct and illuminate others. And it starts by talking about favorite mentors. And we would love to know a couple of your favorite mentors in your life and the positive influence that they had on you or continue to have.
Yeah, it's interesting. There were certainly some teachers along the way, but when I first got out of college, I went, dumb luck, right? I'm like, oh, geez, I need to get a job. What should I go do? Oh, it looks like the computer industry might be around. And I happened to get a job in the computer industry. And it was such a shock for me to go out of school into the business world. And the company was that I was working for wasn't a very well-run company, but there was one fellow there. And he was so elegant. He kind of took me under my arms. And, when I would get down or whatever, he just showed a bigger possibility for myself, right? And he's kind of almost like, you got to get the hell out of here. This is a good training ground for a couple of years to go do something with your life that's, more you and more what you can do. So that man really helped me get out of the Midwest, frankly, and like, oh, geez, maybe there is a bigger possibility in my life. The other person more recently is this woman named Vera Clanton. Vera Clanton passed away about 3 years now, and she was 100 years old. Well, 4'9" African-American woman that I was just so blessed to run into. I had joined a board of a social services agency in San Francisco, and Mrs. Clanton was on the board, and at one point I became a board chair. And my first board meeting, she leaned over and she says, "You don't know how to run a board meeting, do you?" I said, "No, ma'am, I have no idea what I'm doing." And then she gave me Robert's Rules of Order, and she taught me how to run a board meeting. But she was such a community activist. Always had something going on, grassroots. And she invited me into her world. I met so many extraordinary people that I would have never met, again, coming from Indiana, wherever. And I just feel so blessed that she taught me, again, the importance of got to give back, keep giving it away. It doesn't have to be something big, something small. It's just do something. And she was always working it all the way up until she was 100. She always had projects going on, and nobody ever say no to Vera Clanton, because when she set her mind to it, you were going to do it. So she was another big mentor of mine.
I love that story. It makes me wonder if her longevity was connected to having this deeper purpose.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. And, she moved from Texas to San Francisco in the 40s, I mean, God, the stories and what she had seen in her life, what she had to come up against. And she always had such a positive attitude, and she always felt like things could get better. And that's kind of what I do I got my work stuff that's really important, but it's kind of a three-headed stool. I got to take care of myself, but I also have to really give back at some point, always. And if I'm not doing all those three things, then I'm really out of balance. So it's a constant balance between those three things.
Yeah, it's a balance and a battle as well. But for someone who calls themselves, you're in the business of possibilities, it sounds like that your jet fuel came from your mentors, and do you, to this day, are you hanging around other advisors and people that energize you from the possibility perspective?
Oh, totally. But these are completely people off the kind of the grid people. I have one of my mentors right now is a medicine man. This is a guy that's a shaman. He is very steeped in the medicines and, from the Lakota Indians and from the Quechua people down in Peru. Huge, huge, huge mentor in my life. How do you lead a really good life in a really good way? How do you be a good man? And so, I try to surround myself around with people that are, I got another friend of mine down in Southern California. He was an ex-Navy pilot. This guy is, what a good man, full of integrity. And he's a executive search firm guy. And he deals with all these top executives, but he is so insightful and so soulful in how he approaches people. And, and then another person, there's a really interesting poet by the name of David White, who came into my life a few years ago, probably 5 years ago, when I was going through a pretty tough divorce and, breaking open of my heart and my life. And that poetry came into my life at that time that really, woke me up to a whole completely different part of myself and deep into myself as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
And
go ahead.
I do want to say I get inspired every day because, like I'm dealing with the people right now, these techies, right? I got these people that are doing this crazy blockchain. I got another guy who's doing graph data. These people are creating, they're like, we're going to change the world, right? And they believe it. They're, God bless them. They're just super, super smart and super passionate. And I'm a possibilitarian because I can take what they do and translate it so normal people can get what they do so they can bring it in to this world. And so I also get to work with some people doing some pretty interesting things with their lives.
Yeah. There's a great lesson in there, folks, about who you hang around with. And maybe, Bob, you could help us define success and what that means in a post-COVID-19 era.
Boy, that blew everything open, didn't it? Oh, my God. For me, I don't even know if I think it'll be years before I really truly understand how it threaded me, but I do know for me personally, coming out of the COVID, you know what? I feel like I give everybody a break now. My God, you just don't know what people are going through, especially through the COVID. People cutting you off, people getting angry, whatever. Just, who knows? Just give everybody a little more space. Just, walk a little bit less wound up, because everybody's just trying to do the best they can. So that, and the other, of course, the importance of family and adaptability. I've seen so much creativity and adaptability we had to do in our own business. We used to do workshops, in-person workshops. God, nobody wanted to do an in-person workshop during the COVID. So how do we adapt? So there became a lot of creativity I saw coming out of the COVID that continues to this day. I think it's a lot. People became a lot more human. I'm in living rooms every day because I'm on Zoom, right? All these executive teams. I'm in everybody's living room right now. Everybody seems to be a lot more human now. There's a lot more humanness. And so, I think that's, and, my definition of success is, certainly there's the prosperity and abundance that's in my life. But my God, can I just leave? It's pretty simple for me. Can I go to the grocery store and I meet the cashier. Can I leave her in a better place with something I say, or bump into this person? And can I facilitate a workshop and leave all these people in a better place, right? It's not too hard. It's, can you be kind and, not nice, just be kind and, just try to be a good man. I don't know.
Yep, that's right. Thank you for that. That was so insightful, and it was almost a kind of a trip back to a company I work for out of Seymour, Indiana. You sounded just like the founder of the company who espoused a kinder nation. And maybe the pandemic is going to get us back to a little bit of that. Yeah, I see it. I look for it. That's what I look for, and that's what I see. So that's what I'm manifesting. So I'm going to do my part. Yeah, and if all of us do our part, that'll change the world. Every single day, it sounds like you spend encouraging people, but you also are in the middle of creating breakaway strategies and unblocking critical problems. And I want to reference something that Philippe wrote. You probably remember this, but I thought that he masterfully wrote in Aligning the Dots that the key to alignment is when your customer is clearly defined and you're controlling that expected delight. And then he went on to say, but the difference between the received delight and the expected delight will dictate how much growth contribution will be realized. Do you think that our country is still possessed with this gotta grow, gotta go fast, and or if I don't grow fast enough, I'm going to be dissatisfying shareholders, much less my own ego? Oh, I think we're in a whole transformational shift from that old school thinking, right? I really do. I mean, that's what the COVID did. It accelerated that. It broke that. I think a lot of people are kicking and screaming because they don't like to see what the future is happening, but it's happening. It's not in the headlines every day, but it's totally happened. If you talk to at least the kids I see that are 19, 20, they're a completely different consciousness than I was at that age. Totally, completely different consciousness. These people, and, we are at a point, it's not growth at all costs anymore. And I think there's other equations of success that are being brought forth. And, I just think this old hyper-individualism, John Wayne, kick-ass, hierarchical, white male privilege model just is disintegrating in front of our eyes, and something bigger and more beautiful and frankly more sustainable is arising. And there's a lot of people that don't like it. And why I know it's big is because there's a lot of people that are kicking and screaming about it. So that means, whoa, that's in response to this big energy that's happening. So I just think we get to live in these unusual times. Good for us. So we're here to be part of this. So what are we going to do about it, right? So yeah, what are we going to do with that message as well? Okay, this is a basketball coach's question because you remind me of my high school basketball coach and what you're saying. We used to talk about what's one's relationship with fear. Can you describe your relationship with fear and how you've managed it in your personal career? Oh, yeah, that's a good one, right? Can you have the courage, right, to live on the edge of yourself, right? Mm-hmm. That's the question, right? And there's a lot of people that have fallen asleep that don't want to, particularly where I came from, frankly. I go back there and I go, oh, my God, everybody here is asleep. Come on, baby, wake up, let's go. And I think, but it does take courage, right? How do you pick up and go across the country? And how do you start a business? And, I still remember, this is crazy. I was working for a software company and I was in marketing, and I had gotten up the courage to go and start my own business. I was just going to go out on my own and be a consultant because I really was passionate about positioning and my craft and knew I was really good at it. There was part of me. And I remember my two best friends working for that company. They were VPs, and I told them, hey, I'm like, guys, know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be leaving the company. I'm going to go out on my own. They said, what? What are you doing? Are you crazy? And I'm like, oh my, there was that tinge of doubt. Oh, and then I thought, well, that's a weird question, because it wasn't a matter of, it was only a matter of, it wasn't if it was going to happen, it was only a matter of when. I didn't even think about, you know what I'm saying? I didn't even think that it wasn't going to happen. Right. And they were in a completely different place than mine. So, why not? I always tell the people that work for me in my firm,
work as our playing field. That's what we get to rub up against and hone and become better people. And it's the playing field that we've chosen is this tech business. So let's get out there in the playing field and give it a whirl, because, it's, I always say, well, when I was going out on my own, I thought, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? Oh, I fail and I go back and be a product marketing manager again. Not that big of a deal. So that's kind of how if I'm not fearful, or if I'm not taking a risk, if I'm not on the edge of myself, then something's wrong.
I like that. Thank you for that insight. Okay, so tell me about your greatest basketball game where you had the most number of assists.
See, I was a basketball coach. I'll tell you a good basketball coach, though.
Okay.
Question. You ask really good questions, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And this kind of says it all. I was coaching these girls, right? My daughter was one of them, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, until they became too good and they were beyond me. But, there was 2 things that I thought, especially when they're in 3rd and 4th grade, there's 2 or 3 girls that are always awesome and great. The rest of them are pretty clumsy and don't know what they're doing. And I just remember me growing up, and I just felt really bad about myself when I was playing basketball, because I was never good enough, comparing myself, everything, right? Everybody's always paying attention to the superstars. So I said, now I'm going to flip it. Girls that are really good are going to do okay. It's the other ones we're going to help make better. So what I found was every single one of those girls, I wanted them to find one thing they could do really well. Oh, Esme, you can throw the ball out of bounds really well. Oh, you, Lydia, you can set a pick really well, right?
All right.
Or, whatever it was, it didn't even matter, just they all had one good thing, that they could pride themselves on. So that's one thing that I did in basketball that I thought was important. The other thing I did too is we had a really, really, really good team one year, and there's a couple games we lost. And I always tell them, it's easy to be a winner, but how can you be a good loser, right? Now you can't say man up, let's be good losers, right? It's easy to be a good winner. Your character comes out when you lose. And what's your response to losing? Because it's real easy to be a winner, but the ones that have the heart are the ones that know how to lose really well, and then take that in and learn from that. So those are some basketball.
Oh, good for
situations.
You. I wish I would have learned that early and not in high school basketball, where I was eventually cut from the team. But I tell you what, those are life lessons that stick with you. And for those kids that may not have fathers in their lives, I mean, you probably played the role of dad.
Yeah, probably. Who knows? At least, give somebody a little something to think about and, take forward in their lives.
There you go. I've got 2 more questions for you, Bob, and the first one is related to traveling. My wife owns a company called Living Seasonally that's all about traveling to other countries and living and working there, and it's become even more popular with the pandemic. How employees are now liberated to work everywhere. But the thing that I think in watching her and her exploits and getting to experience part of it is how my own perspective has been changed and humbled by seeing the rest of the world. How has travel transformed your own perspective as a man and as a leader?
Oh my goodness, that's a really great question. That's the other thing I think that's interesting about the people, the younger generation today. Everybody, a lot of people are global citizens now, right? There is a global consciousness. Mm-hmm. I think what's great about for me personally, traveling is you get outside of your ordinary life and your ordinary self. So it's really lovely to sit around in a day and everything is new and fresh and you're in the moment and you're in the now. And also, my goodness, I took a year off. I was on the hamster wheel. I wasn't happy. At that time, my wife, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just going through the motions. This is not good. And And we said, okay, well, why don't we just sell the house? So we put the house up for sale, and it sold in 6 days. Like, holy shit, what do we do now? Didn't expect that to happen. And we happened to hit the market at a good time. And then I'm like, she's like, well, and I said, man, I really don't want to go get another house and get back on the hamster wheel. Well, let's not do it. Let's go travel for a year. I said, oh, all right. So 3 months later, we took the kids. They were 8 and 5. And we put everything in storage, sold everything else, and we traveled for a year in Asia. And I have a daughter that was born in China. So what an extraordinary experience, because we couldn't afford to stay at fancy places. We were in guest houses, and, you know, every once in a while when we couldn't take it anymore, we'd go to a fancy place. But, you know, we'd hunker down into, you know, like Laos for 3 months or Vietnam for a couple months, and, you know, really get to know, I don't know, it grounded us. It also helped me really understand how fortunate, and also the humanity of everybody. Everybody was, especially with travel with kids, everybody loves kids, you know. They'd welcome us in their home. I remember one time we were in this rice paddy in the middle of freaking, I don't know where we were, in China. And everybody was out in the fields, and we were going through this little village on this mud road, and we peered in a house, and there was an old lady in there and an old man, and they beckoned us in, and they had one chair, and they said, you sit in this chair here, and they gave us the only apple they probably had, you know, cut it up in pieces. And it's that hospitality that is, and humanity. And like I said, everybody's just trying to do the best thing in their lives. So, and the other thing, I think there's one other thing, is loneliness. I remember traveling by myself alone, and I would feel that loneliness, and you know, and you know, that's hard to sit in that loneliness, but it's a good thing, because then you appreciate the community and people you meet and who you bump into. So, I think, but my kids are so much better people from that trip, because they did such an engaged. They are total global citizens. They're traveling all the time, and we did a number of trips after that as well. So, but it's so important. Right?
Yes, it is. It certainly is.
So good for your wife.
Yeah, no kidding, and good for me. I get to come along and and experience all that. This last question is really related to you and how you think as a futurist. So forgive me if it sounds cheesy, but if you could live another 100 years, what would you want to accomplish?
Oh, yeah, I don't. Well, you know, you know what I would like to accomplish? I don't know if it's accomplish, is it? But I think, right? Can there be? They always talk about in the medicine circles, right? You're healing up your life for 7 generations behind you and 7 generations ahead of you, and breaking those old patterns, you know, that come through the dysfunction of my particular family. And can you heal that and stop that so it's not brought on and carried forward in my kids' lives and their kids' lives? And they're going to have something else they have to deal with, but at least they won't have to deal with that. So if I lived for another 100 years, oh my God, I would love to have that ripple effect go on and on and on and on, right? And can I, you know, become more of myself and, you know, impact the kindness in the world and the abundance in the world and the win-win in the world more, and help people see the possibilities in their lives, right? The bigger possibilities in their lives. That would be a worthwhile, endeavor.
It sure would. Bob, thank you so much for being on Legends. You were as advertised by Philippe, and we appreciate it. I didn't realize, though, that I would get so much personal coaching out of today's show. So I really, truly appreciate it. You're so well grounded. And for those that want to contact your firm, how would they find out more information about Firebrick Consulting?
Yeah, it's firebk.com. Fireboykaren.com is how you can get hold of it. Yeah, and
very good.
I want to say also, one of the best things I do in my life with my work is I ask really good questions. And you're an expert at asking really good questions, and that's how you're able to elicit, the content that in this particular Hot Leads podcast. So good for you, asking really good questions.
Well, your answers were inspiring, and now I want to go out and travel and hopefully get on the right advisory boards to be able to say some of the same things that you said. So I really appreciate it. We'd love to have you back on, maybe have an annual Bob Wright program so you can tell us about how you're growing and how things are going from the possibilitarian perspective.
Oh, happy to. Anytime. Thank you so much. So grateful.
We appreciate it. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
That was Bob Wright of Fire Brick Consulting. Wow. His wisdom and wit just blows us away. I mean, he's really a futurist, and I don't think I've ever heard that about pattern breaking 7 generations forward. That's amazing. That is a paradigm buster for us today. So thank you, Bob Wright, for sharing that. And I want to extend my thanks again to Philippe Bousseau, author of Aligning the Dots, that introduced us. So thank you, Philippe, for that. Folks, we hope that you have a great week and take some of the advice of Bob Wright and use it to help you become not just ordinary, but extraordinary. Have a great week. So thanks to our sponsor, Edward Jones. They are our trusted financial advisor. And Edward Jones has been instrumental in helping us pivot our lives built around health, happiness, travel, and adding value to other people's lives. You can contact our advisor, Serban Maracini, by emailing him at serban.maracine@edwardjones.com. And thanks again to their sponsorship of this program.
Saving starts with Xfinity. Get a great price on Xfinity Internet. Plus, ask how to get an eligible 5G phone on us. And for a limited time, $300 back when you add Xfinity Mobile. Go to Xfinity.com/start saving. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Saving starts with internet and wireless from Xfinity. Because when you get Xfinity Internet and add mobile, you can save up to $400 a year on wireless. Enjoy fast, reliable internet at home and nationwide 5G on the go, included at no extra cost. Get Xfinity Internet and mobile together and ask how to get an eligible 5G phone on us. And for a limited time, $300 back. Don't miss out. Go to Xfinity.com/start saving. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Savings based on optimized pricing. Actual savings may vary.